What's going on YouTube? Snowflakeyzemos here with an update to my Phantasm Spiral deck profile. Been a little while since I updated this one, but this deck is one of my favorite decks to play in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And probably my most played in Master Duel. It's just a really cool deck that uses normal monsters, and it's really easy to get the set of dailies with it, playing 3 spell cards, playing 2 traps, and winning a duel. And overall, it's just a pretty fun deck that utilizes normal monsters and a lot of the powerful floodgates that synergize with them, and the very cool spell card Pacifist the Phantasm City to create a really cool stun style deck. So with that said, let's get into the card by card. Starting off with our monsters, I'm playing one copy of Giant Red Sea Snake. So all of our monsters are different vanilla monsters. The main thing to note about them is that they are all different types, which is important because we're going to be playing There Can Be Only One as a trap card. And if we use the different types of water monsters available, it means that we can have them all on the field at the same time without interfering with There Can Only Be One. So, Giant Red Sea Snake is an 1800 attack Aqua type 4-star water monster. What's important to note too is that all the monsters we are running are water monsters, so that they can have synergy with Sea Stealth attack and just the general water synergies in this deck. Fury of Karyushin, Fish Sonar, all really cool stuff to have. Next, we're playing a Yugioh, which is a 4-star with 1850 and is a reptile. Pretty cool, our second strongest. Next, we're playing a copy of Sea Serpent Warrior of Darkness. This one's a Sea Serpent, which is pretty nice, 1800 attack. And last, we are playing Megalo Smasher X. It's got 2000 attack, and it's a dinosaur. So all the different types are accounted for, which means everything can be on the field without There Can Be Only One interfering with that in any way. So it's pretty simple. We play the normal monsters because they have synergy with Pacifist the Phantasm City, as well as the Phantasm Spiral Trap cards, and of course work well with floodgates like Skill Drain, and There Can Only Be One, which are the real game winners in this deck. So with that said, that's it for the monster cards. Starting off with our spells, we are playing 3 copies of Pacifist the Phantasm City. This is the heart and soul of the deck. It's a pretty cool field spell. It says you cannot normal or special summon effect monsters the turn you activate either of this card's effects. And then once per turn, if you normal or special summon exactly one normal monster, you can add a Phantasm Spiral card from the deck to your hand. That's the cards we'll see in our trap lineup. And of course, if your opponent activates a card or effect, and you control no tokens, you can special summon a Phantasm Spiral token, a worm type monster, level 8, 2000 attack, 2000 defense. So again, the worm type doesn't interfere with the rest of our types that we have in the deck. And, you know, that is not once per turn, and it happens all the time. In Master Duel, it's really nice. In the TCG, there's a lot of rulings issues with this card that you gotta kind of teach people how it works. But Master Duel does it all for you. Basically, anytime that criteria is met, a card or effect is activated and you don't control a token, you're getting one. And that makes it pretty good. And of course, we're going to be playing at Terraforming to search that out of the deck. Next, we're going to be playing 2 cards of Demise. Card of Demise is just pretty good in this deck. We draw until we have 3 cards in our hand. Also, for the rest of this turn, you know, our opponent takes no damage. During the end phase, we have to send our entire hand to the graveyard, which is not a big deal. We're mostly digging for trap cards that we are just going to set face down. We're not going to have too many monsters left over in our hand because we're only playing 4 monsters in the deck. And of course, you cannot special summon during the turn you activate this card, which honestly isn't a big deal. We're mostly special summoning on our opponent's turn with Pacifist. To combo with that, we're playing 2 pots of Duality. It just looks at the top 3 cards of our deck and add one to our hand. We can't special summon, but it's a good card to grab our needed Floodgate or our needed Pacifist, just whatever piece of the winning combo we are missing. Next, we're playing 3 Pot of Extravagance. We banish 6 extra deck cards face down to draw 1 card for every 3 banished, so we banish 6 and draw 2. Our extra deck is not important in this deck. We will not be going into it, so we just need it to draw cards. Next, we're playing a Fury of Karyushin. It's a spell card that adds Torrential Tribute from the deck to our hand, which is nice. Torrential Tribute is a really good disrupting tool to play on our opponent, and it has a second effect. If a water monster you control be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So if you have your water monsters on the field, you can turn Torrential Tribute into a one-sided field wipe, which is pretty cool. But even if you don't have Fury of the Karyushin yet, we can also make things dodge with Sea Stealth attack, which is pretty nice to have. And last for our spells, we're playing 2 copies of Fish Sonar. This is the new searcher in the deck since I'm off the 3 Megalo Fossil Dig package. Fish Sonar is pretty nice because we can add a level 7 or lower monster from a deck to our hand that mentions Umi or is a water normal monster. That's all the targets in our deck. Then if Umi's on the field, you can special summon one normal monster from your deck, which is pretty nice. If we already have Pacifist, we can grab another one out of the deck, have one in our hand to play on the same turn for more damage or to follow up summon on the next turn. And it's just a pretty cool card. Now we can only activate one Fish Sonar per turn, which makes it a little less good than Fossil Dig, because Fossil Dig is not a hard once per turn, but still a pretty good card. Pretty glad to have it, and that is it for the spell cards. Next, looking at our trap cards, that's where most of the deck is, as this is a trap card based stun deck. We're playing two of the Torrential Tributes, which we can search off of Fury of Kariushin. Torrential Tribute just says when a monster is summoned, destroy all monsters on the field. This is pretty nice because it can disrupt an opponent, combos very well with Summon Limit, and of course, between Fury of the Kariushin and Sea Stealth Attack, we have ways to make our own monsters dodge being destroyed. And of course, if our token gets destroyed, it's no big deal because it comes back pretty easily as soon as our opponent activates a card or effect. Next, we're playing 3 Phantasm Spiral Battle. This is one of our Phantasm Spiral cards that we're going to be searching off of Pacifist. It just says if all monsters you control are normal monsters, minimum 1, target a card on the field and destroy it. And then if Umi's on the field, you can activate this card from your hand. It has a banish effect, but we're not playing the equip, so that effect doesn't matter. So it's pretty nice. We can just search this card out of the deck and then immediately play it to destroy a card. Good for getting rid of problematic spell and trap removal or monsters to push for game. It's just a nice card to be able to search out of the deck. And so we're playing 3 of them. Next, we're also playing 1 Phantasm Spiral Power. It's pretty nice. If all monsters you control are normal monsters, you target an effect monster your opponent controls, it loses 1,000 attack and defense until the end of this turn, and also its effects are negated until the end of this turn. And like the other one, if Umi's on the field, which Pacifist always counts as Umi, you can play this card from your hand. So another good tool, just a 4th card to get out of our deck, and sometimes it's handy if we don't have the skill drain online yet and we need to be prepared to negate a crucial effect. Popping a card isn't going to be good enough. Next, I'm playing a Heavy Storm Duster. Just one copy of this. Master Duel has a lot more spell and trap card based decks, so I like having this card to destroy spell and trap cards. You can target up to 2 of them and destroy them in exchange for not conducting our battle phase, which isn't a big deal because we're almost always playing this on our opponent's turn. In a lot of other decks, you see me run 2 of these, but with Phantasm Spiral Battle being able to do the job and searchable, I find it not as needed. We're playing 3 Solemn Judgment. We're winning off of the back of Floodgates, and we want to make sure our Floodgates don't get outed. Solemn Judgment helps us do that. We pay half our life points to negate a monster summon or a spell and trap activation. In addition, we're playing 2 copies of Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi. It's basically Solemn Judgment, except it doesn't destroy the card. It only negates the activation of a spell or trap or monster effect. While you control a face-up non-effect monster. So that includes any of our normal monsters or our token from Pacifist. And then, of course, if this set card is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon a non-effect monster from your extra deck. That's why our extra deck is loaded up with big non-effect monsters. You know, things like Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Master of Oz, just the biggest non-effect monsters we have. Usually you want to go for one of these 2 just for their huge attack stat. Or if you have Sea Stealth Attack up, we can go into Gagagigo the Risen, which while not as big, is a water monster, so we can have it tap out of the field with Sea Stealth Attack so that we control only normal monsters again and can use the Phantasm Spiral cards, which you can't do with Blue Eyes Ultimate or Master of Oz because they are not considered normal monsters. Next, we're playing 2 Skill Drain. Skill Drain, the main win con, and the biggest synergy with this deck. We pay 1,000 life points to negate the effects of all face-up monsters while they're face-up on the field. Normal monsters don't have effects, so we don't care about that, and a lot of other decks do, enough that this card wins games, and so we're going to play it. It's a good card, one of my favorites. Next, playing 3 copies of Summon Limit. This card's pretty useful in this deck, especially with all these tools to help quickly destroy a card like Phantasm Spiral Battle or Tribute. Because a lot of decks are combo decks that are summoning multiple times, and if you can flip Summon Limit on them after they've summoned 2 monsters, especially if those monsters can't out your token, then you're going to be in a pretty good spot. It's going to be hard for them to go into something that can out your board if they can only summon twice. Most decks need a lot more summons than that to get their game-winning board, and so Summon Limit is very powerful. Next, I'm playing 1 Gozen match. This is mostly just in here because I want 8 Floodgates so I can consistently see at least 1 per game in my opening hand. And since Skill Drain is semi and Teak Boo is semi, Gozen match is in here as our next best option. It just makes it so each player can only control 1 attribute of monster. Not good in all matchups, but good in some matchups, and it doesn't hinder our deck because everything has water. Next, we're playing 2 copies of There Can Be Only One. Each player can only control 1 monster of each type. If there are 2 or more monsters of the same type, they must send some to the graveyard so that they control no more than 1 type. So that's why all our vanilla monsters are different types, so that we can have them all in the field. And Teak Boo is a really powerful card. So many decks and archetypes are all centered around monsters of the same type that flipping Teak Boo is a win condition, and one we'll gladly use. And last, for our trap cards, I'm playing 2 copies of Sea Stealth Attack, another great tool for this deck. When this card is activated, you can activate Umi from your hand or graveyard, so that's nice if your pacifist gets outed. And then, while Umi's on the field, this card gains both of these effects. Once per turn, you can banish a water monster you control until the end phase. This turn, face-up spell and trap cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. That's nice because that makes your skill drain, your summon limit, your Teak Boo, goes in match, all unable to be destroyed by card effects like Harpy's Feather Duster and Lightning Storm, which you'll see quite a bit. So that's pretty nice. Even protects your field spell pacifist. All we have to do is just have a monster to tag out, which is nice. This card also allows us to tag out monsters when we play a card like Torrential Tribute or we're about to get board wiped, just so our monster doesn't leave the field. And lastly, we can use this effect to tag out a token during our opponent's turn when they activate a card so that the token is gone and will resummon, triggering pacifist effect if we want to search another Phantasm Spiral card. So it does lots of good uses for this card, another key player in making this deck succeed. And that is it for the main deck. As far as the extra deck goes, like I said, we're just shoving in the highest highest attack non-effect monsters to get off of Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi, so that we always have one, even if we're Pot of Extravagancy. Like I said, the best ones are definitely Master of Oz and Blue Eyes Ultimate, just because they're so big, or the next best option is Gagagigo the Risen, just because of the water synergy is pretty nice to have. Those are the main ones. The other ones are, of course, just up to what you got, up to your discretion. They usually don't cost much Dutch, so you might as well make the good ones. And that's it for the deck. So that is it for my Phantasm Spiral deck profile. Again, a deck I quite like to play. It's one of my favorite decks in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! And definitely my most played on Master Duel. It plays trap cards, it gets us spell cards, it gets us wins, so it's good for completing dailies. And I just get to use some of these cool, iconic, normal monsters in a deck that can do some stuff and win, and I like that. So thanks for checking out the video. Hope you enjoy it. Love to know what you're doing with normal monsters or how you're playing Pacifist, the Phantasm City. So many different cool things to do with this deck. I play Fang of Critias versions, all sorts of variants. So we'll get more updates on it as we proceed. But thanks for checking out the video. I appreciate you stopping in, and I'll catch you all in the next one.